welcome everyone. We are 10 minutes late. So welcome everyone to today's WeBookClub. So happy to see everybody back and so many familiar faces. We may see some new faces later, but yeah, it's happy. So now we have special guest today, and you see it's Professor Louise von Flotter, our old friend. She was here last year, introduced a very interesting book, a translation book, All the World More, and which was sparks a lot of memorable discussions. And we are so excited to have her back this year to introduce her latest translation book. The book's English name is called Running, and it's translated from German.
That's right.
And the book has been I just heard from professor that it was once translated into it's a TV film. It's a movie in German. Very interesting. So we'd like to have a professor to introduce this latest book and all the inspiring cross-culture and emotional depth translation of this new book to us. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming and for taking an interest. This book is a book that I chose by myself. Nobody asked me to translate it. A friend sent me the German version from Berlin, saying, "This is a really good book I just read. Take a look, see if you're interested." And I read it and I thought, yeah, it's really very good. And she is an author who has published, she herself is a translator. Isabel Bogdan is a translator who works from English into German. But this is her second full-length book, I believe, that she's written in German. The first one has also been translated into English and turned into an English film. If you're ever flying Air Canada and you need a good movie to look at, it's there. It's called The Peacock.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the Air Canada on the back of the seat in front of you. This has not been turned into an English film, but it's been turned into a German film, and it's something that you can look up and find, but it's all in German, and so it would be more difficult to understand. But I decided that I wanted to translate it, and why? Yeah, because I thought the way she deals with the problem that comes up in this book is so, the way she presents it very slowly as she's running along. It's only by the end of the first chapter, I believe, that you know that there's some trauma. And then by the end of the second chapter, you know that there's actually a death. And by the end of the third chapter, very slowly, and in the meantime, all kinds of other things are going through her head. And I found that was a very, a real way, rather than doing it the way the movie does it, where right away you have sirens, ambulances, police knocking on doors, and whoa, none of that comes up in the book. So it's a very personal and subjective account of this trauma. Yeah. And what I also liked is somewhere along the line, and I looked for it this morning, but I couldn't find it. She says, "You idiot," in her head to the person who caused, or the person who disappeared. She's actually allows herself to be angry. And I think, yeah, I would be angry too, apart from, besides being sad, besides feeling guilty. And I thought it was a really good mixture of all the possible emotions that might come up in such a situation. Right. And I think and I liked also the stream of consciousness way of talking about it. She goes running, and I think on the first part here, I was going to read a little piece. She says, running is such a dull thing. You just run. You just feel whether there's a pain in your foot, or whether you're getting tired, or whether your legs feel like bags of cement or sandbags or something. But it's not true, because her brain is going the whole time, and in very complicated ways. So there's I think that confusion between what she would like running to do for her and what actually happens when she runs, and then maybe it does come together in the end where through the running, should I have translated it jogging? I don't know. I thought a book title, Jogging, was not so good. I don't know. In any case, to publish this translation, nobody paid me to do it. So it's my private little project. And I think, I don't actually remember, but I think I actually paid for the copyright permission as well. You need to buy the right to translate. Normally the publishing house does that, but I worked with a publishing house which is located in Aylmer, Quebec, and which is a cooperative publishing house, which means that they provide, and they do the cover, they do the spine, they make sure that the back is presentable, they provide the ISBN number, and all of this stuff here, and they do the layout. And we had a few arguments about the layout. But they don't do the marketing, and they don't do any other costs. And they don't apply for Canada Council funding, which I wouldn't get anyways because it's German to English. Canada Council is only there for French to English, French from Canada into English, not French from France or from Mozambique or somewhere. So French from Canada into English. So they don't want to deal with the money. So the whole thing cost perhaps $600. Yes, I think it was $600 to pay for the copyright permission. And the author wrote back, "Oh, that's not very much." I don't know how much of it she gets because her German publisher probably gets a certain amount as well. But too bad, too sad. And and then doing the work for free. But it's not work. It's like doing a crossword puzzle in your spare time. I love it. So yeah, it's not work. Would be nice to get paid, but if you don't, then that's okay too. Yeah, and the publishing house is this one called Deux Voiliers Publishing. I don't know if you know about it. The person who runs it, Ian Thomas Shaw, is also a writer and a translator, and there's a series of books written by a Chinese author, Ottawa author, called Wayne, I don't know how to pronounce it, NG. He publishes here, and he publishes books set in Chinatowns, or the 2 or 3 that I've read, Chinatowns in Canada, and where written often from a young Chinese boy's perspective, growing up in Chinatown in Canada. He has published here 3 or 4 times, and I was at one of the launches recently, and it was held on Somerset in Chinatown. So that's the story of this book, and I honestly do not know, because I have never had to pay attention to this, why it is run through Amazon, but it is. So I have an agent who works for this company, for this publishing house, or works with the publishing house, and she organized that aspect of it, that it's published published on demand, I think, print on demand at Amazon. And I prefer not to have to be involved in that. I prefer the words. So, I was going to just start with reading a couple of excerpts, and then open it up and see if there are questions and comments and so on. Right. So, to start off, I can't keep going. Of course, that's nonsense. I only just set out for a run, and at the traffic light, I'm already thinking I can't keep going. Less than 100 meters. My legs feel like sandbags. Did I ever run farther than this? Long ago. Maybe I can think of a reason why I shouldn't be running. Why I should turn right back, even though today is the best day to start running again. It's good to run, except that I can't anymore. And maybe today is not really the best day because it's the worst day. Is that rain? It was so hard to get into my running clothes. Amazing how much energy it took, even though I decided to finally start running again. Today, this very day, amazing how much energy it takes to find those sports clothes, decide which ones are right for the temperature today, which pants, the thick ones, the thin ones, are they warm enough? Is a long sleeved shirt under the t-shirt enough? Or do you need a jacket over the top? What a hassle. And then, when you finally got the clothes sorted out to actually start running, why is it so hard? I managed to go to work, don't I? That's gotten way easier than it was at first. It keeps me going. Well, at least I've managed to start running again. The traffic light's about to turn green. I'm not going to turn back now. I'm going to keep going. It's not raining at all, but my foot feels like it's snapping every step I take, which is no reason to turn back either. I'm going to focus and keep on running. Kati's right. She said I should start running again. Kati's always right, of course. I can still do it. It'd be silly not to. Now, when I passed this on to others to read, they said, yeah, I sympathize. I know what it's like. I know what it's like when you haven't been jogging or have never been jogging, haven't been jogging for a while, and you try to get back to it, and oh, it's so exhausting, and you really feel like it's time to turn around and do something else. And in fact, here, you already get a first little intuition that something isn't right. She said, that's gotten way easier than it was at first. That being managing to go to work. That's gotten way easier than it was at first. It keeps me going. So right away on page 2, you have a little intimation that something happened. Yeah. And what was it? Yeah. So, and that's what I thought was very fine and delicate in a way, how she introduces that slowly. She goes on, it's super to run, so nice and dull. You don't have to think much. Like I said, it's really not the case for her. All I can think about is running anyway, and my body, and not about all the other crap, because that's way too stressful. I run the worries out of my system. Other people apparently run because it helps them think. I can't think of anything but my body, whether it's functioning, what it feels like to run, whether I can keep going, and if so, how far, and about whether something is hurting or what is hurting the most, as though I didn't know what was hurting the most. In the end, when you run, your body hurts, which is still better than sitting at your computer and shooting at little dots for hours on end, or sorting through cards and always thinking about ... Yeah, so another little hint. And I wondered about that, this shooting at little dots. Do you know what that refers to?
The game.
Yeah, it's a video game you can apparently play for hours. I looked it up and I took no interest, but apparently, yeah, it's just something to dim the brain, as far as
your mind occupied.
to keep your mind occupied, really?
To keep your brain occupied, or whatever.
Yeah, so you're not even shooting at a target. You're just getting rid of dots on the screen, right? Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a video game person, so at first I didn't know what she was talking about. Yeah. I don't know. How did you find this introduction? The fact that the putting running right out there, and then right away having the idea that running is something really hard and tedious, but that it's also dull and allows you not to think. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case.
It's the case.
I have the experience. Yeah. I was that's how I can relate to the book, because I was introduced by my colleagues to a running club. So I was never running my whole life before, and I went through exactly what the book describes how I felt when I started.
Yeah.
And that's very, for somebody who haven't run ever in their life, for the first 5 kilometers, that's really difficult.
Oh,
that's
terrible. I know. Yeah. Jogging was really something that's that seems to have started, or I remember starting when I was about 14, 15, 16 years old, living on a farm in the middle of nowhere in southwestern Ontario, and we tried to run to the woods at the back of the farm. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't want to do this. A, I don't want to be in the woods. B, I don't want to run. It's just no fun and not interesting and dull, like she says, and painful. Yeah. On another topic, I tried to get the running room. Do you know the running room?
Yeah.
It's over there. It's a store on Bank Street where you can buy these fancy pants and fancy jackets and headgear and I don't know what, all the stuff you need or don't need to go running. And I asked them if they would put this book in the window.
Yeah.
In order to do some of the marketing that the publisher doesn't do. They said, oh, that's too hard for me to decide. You'll have to phone the headquarters in Toronto. They never answered.
I know a gym owner. He owns a couple of gyms. I will hook you up for that.
Please. If anyone has contact to a running room that would like to have this in the window or on the counter for sale.
Yeah, that's a running room in Stittsville. And that's why I ran, so I can ask the manager there. So.
Yeah, I had no joy. I tried to get hold of the people in Toronto and they said,
whoever hook up a deal for Louise will get a free copy. It's her signature.
yeah, because it just shows in a way by the end how healthful physical activity is when you're confronted with something traumatizing.
When I remember I was in high school, the last 2 years, like very intensive studying and preparation for the big national exam. Everybody was so stressed. Our teacher actually forced everybody, you have to run every day in the morning. I hated it so much. Now I realized how I didn't get crazy, like I didn't screw up my exam because of the running. We ran, but I never enjoyed it. Apparently you can get addicted to running. If you start running long distance, after a certain distance, you can get, you cannot stop actually. I heard about that. I haven't never reached to that like addicted stage.
No.
Or
No, but for some it is.
I mean, there's so much nowadays about therapeutic running with a cert for depression and psychological problems. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scientific reason. Like I'm not gonna. That's a scientific evidence why there's a part of the brain in the front. So when you're frowning, that's where people with depression. That's where the hormone came from. So when you run, that part of the brain will be blocked out for some reason. That's some reason in your body, the hormone, that part will be blocked out. So that makes you happier, and that's why a lot of people with depression are suggested to go running will help.
If they can get started.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, in the second chapter, and through a long part of the book, she's very concerned with family and with the parents. And not only with the parents, and I thought, oh, she spends so much time on this irritation with his parents, and then along with that comes the class difference, or the apparent class difference. And I wondered if you could relate to that, or could pick up on that, or the difference between being a viola player, which she is, a professional musician playing regularly in concerts and so on, and just strumming away on your mandolin, which is what he did. And the parents, she uses the term, I translated it as petit bourgeois. It's on page 19. In German, the term is Spießer. And Spießer, for anybody to be called a Spießer, is to really be insulting, that you have no horizon, you're ungenerous, you're trying to make sure that everything is proper the way everybody thinks it should be, and so on. And that's what she accuses the parents of. And it's hard to translate into English because we don't have a word for that. Petit bourgeois. Here, I'll just read that segment. And I wondered how you would respond to that. She writes,
Chinese 手气，
小资small.
She writes, I hardly dare set foot in the cemetery for fear of meeting your parents. They're there all the time, especially for all those dates, birthday, anniversary of your death, whatever, reorganizing the grave. I would love to never see them again after they so clearly let me know what they thought of me. They always thought I was weird, a member of an orchestra. That's not a profession. So unreal, because in their world, music is at most a hobby. And they never understood how their down-to-earth normal son with his vintage car shop could have a woman with such a weird job. And my books all over the place and the scores, they found it all pretty dubious and strange. But somehow we managed to adapt, and now they're behaving as though I killed you. As they say, we were never married, so they made all the decisions, the funeral, where and how you were buried. In their town, of course, in Elmsholm, and not where I am in Hamburg. After all, we were never married. And the music for your funeral, they didn't even consider asking me if I wanted to play. I wouldn't have been able to play, but I would have known what music you'd like to hear. And I could have asked the others in my quartet to play and Bettina to sing, but they didn't want any of that, and I was too paralyzed to insist, and so you got this petty bourgeois ceremony. You would have hated those dreadful hymns. You wouldn't have wanted a church funeral, and they must have known that. But they couldn't listen because people do things the way they do them, and I just let it happen because I didn't have the strength to fight for you. Yeah.
Is this like a narcissist?
What's that?
Narcissist.
Who's the narcissist?
The
She.
parents.
The parents.
Yeah. They never think about other people. They only think about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a class difference or just a generation gap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not very sure of that. It's are you talking about blue collar with white versus white collar, or just like a generation gap? Like, these are the parents. They think that's the way their late son would have wanted, and they were doing it just.
But she explains later on that they had hardly any contact with their son anymore.
Yeah. That's what they thought. They were doing it for.
For him or for them and their friends?
Exactly.
Who comes to the funeral?
Exactly. They thought they were doing it for him, but actually subconsciously they are doing it for their own friends.
Yeah.
They don't consider this.
This question of class difference comes up quite often in the book, because she suspects, that's how I read it anyways, that part of his problem is that he comes from a different space, right? He's not quite up to her level.
Yeah. So the parents think differently. Like he feels he's below her, and her friends think how come she went with him, right? So he's below her intellectually, but she never saw that. The runner, she never saw that way. She loves him so much.
I don't think so. No. She seems to tell us, or in her head at least, that she never worried so much about the class difference, which was, the difference between fixing old cars, but he doesn't just fix old cars, he updates very fancy old cars, valuable old cars.
They have a lot of common interests.
But he suffers from it, and whether she suffers from it, she suffers from him suffering from it.
Yes, but this is funny, the parents are very different, right? Opposite. They should feel so fortunate having this girlfriend. Yeah. But they look other way. That's why the cost.
She's weird.
That's the cost of his depression.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're like penny pinchers or bean counters, right? All the little things, whether that coffee cup was his or whether that CD was his, and so on. And what do they do with it? In the end, I think there's a part, and I meant to get there this morning, but I couldn't, where they offer to sell her the old car.
That's great.
And she's so angry, she slams out of there and never have anything to do with it. Yeah, so very much bean counters. And is that petit bourgeois, spießig in German? Yeah, to be ungenerous. Yeah. but hard to translate. Petit bourgeois, does that
We do have a word in Chinese.
in Chinese?
But it has a different combination, like a meaning, or like shades of meaning.
Oh yeah.
It's a different.
Mm.
Not
Did
that-
anyone trip over the word petit bourgeois? Did you even notice it?
I didn't know.
Good.
小资，小资，
更是像小气。
对，但是那个但是不是话是小资。
Is that like egoistic?
Is it what?
Egoistic?
Egotistic? No. Not first and foremost. It's small-minded.
Yeah.
It's
Not-
small-minded.
Yeah, not open-minded, trying to make sure that all the rules are right, that the tablecloth is exactly proper, that the knife and fork are exactly there. Yeah.
But the way the writer, like, her words are very harsh on the parents.
Yeah.
Right? She's very picking on them, like, it's the way she's full of anger.
Yes.
心胸狭窄。
Yeah, herself, it's a kind of, she thinks I'm a professional musician, I'm more like, I'm superior, right?
Mhm.
It's not petty, the word for that, in English?
Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Petty
Yeah, yeah.
bourgeois.
That's why I use the term petit bourgeois, but often it's petit bourgeois
But
because it
bourgeois
comes
is
from
a
French.
French word. Petit is a bourgeois. It's a French word, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
bourgeois.
bourgeoisie, like bourgeoisie.
But-
你说那个词。
对, it's a French word.
Yeah, but when I was in Shanghai a couple of years ago, and the term has entered
A different.
Chinese as
Yes,
well.
it is.
It
That's
has,
why.
bourgeois.
So, bourgeois.
Mhm.
So in Chinese we say it has a very positive meaning, meaning
Oh.
like you know how to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's why there's a turn of the words.
Yeah,
And-
interesting.
Yeah, because we translate from French.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chinese roots are we are classless. We own nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the petit bourgeois, at least they own something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like quality of life.
Yes.
Enjoy like that.
Well, it's quite negative in English and quite negative in French as well. Yeah. So to go on here, the parents. Yeah. What did you think of her the revenge she has on the parents, knowing that her man never liked white chocolate. He always thought it was disgusting, and he always wore pajamas, even. And now she has something on the parents. She knows she is getting back at them because they don't know this about him, and she does. And I thought, oh, how pitiful, pathetic in a way. Pathetic, I thought, but yeah. So, one of the topics that I thought was really painful is how she goes on and on, back and forth in the text, blaming herself for not having seen,
It's coming.
supported.
It's coming.
Yeah. So there's a passage on page 35 here. To tell the truth, it is my fault. I should have seen it coming. Breathe, and then she does this breathing in, out, in, out. Quick, think of something else. Blaming yourself just brings on stomach ulcers and doesn't help, says Paul Paul is the therapist. I have to get out of the self-blame game. It was your decision. I'm sure she's right, but how does that work when it was at least somewhat my fault? I didn't notice. I wasn't good enough for you. I didn't manage. I never managed to help you rid yourself of self-doubt. Finally got an appointment with her, a kind of present for my birthday. No birthday present from you this year, but I bought a fantastic piece of cheese, even if that was usually the Christmas present. But how am I supposed to know what you might have given me for my birthday? So she goes back and forth, and you often get this, that she's at fault. She is to blame for someone else's suicide. Are we to blame for other people's suicides? And it goes on, and she just cannot get away from it. Even at the very end, the last page, it ends Yeah. Next week it'll be 2 years. I will not make a date to meet his parents. I will not go to the cemetery either just to show them I've been. They'll be glad not to see me there, and I will not show up ever unless they apologize. If they do, that's fine. I don't need them. I'd be better off visiting the ginkgo. Breathing in, breathing out. 2 years next week. 2 years without him. He will always be with me. Johann. That's the name. Johann. And no period at the end. It's just
That was the intention.
open.
Wow.
And yeah, it's something that I don't see her ever getting rid of, that responsibility or the feeling that she's somehow guilty or responsible. And I wondered how you read it or picked up on it.
I would say one should never be responsible for someone else's suicide. That was his life, his decision, or her life, her decision. But if it's a close one, it's very hard to not think that's actually my responsibility if it was a close one, especially like a spouse or her. The reason is that we were so close. I should have paid more attention to him. I should have discovered. I should have seen hint coming. I should have noticed that he was depressed, and I should have done more. I mean that guilt is very hard to avoid.
I see. Yeah.
But logically, you are not responsible for that. But you can't just emotionally. It's very hard to get away, to escape this guilt, sense of guilt.
Yeah,
And I think she presents it really well, because it keeps coming up, I mean, later on in the book, it keeps coming up less. And she also admits something that you didn't like, right? That she had a little affair with someone on the side while Johann was busy being depressed. Yeah, so I mean, you hear a little more, and that she's out regularly in the evenings with the orchestra, and he's home alone, and they pass by each other. At some point, I marked something this morning too that, maybe I shouldn't have played, been out so much in the evenings. Maybe I should have been there more. This kind of thing. Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, she blamed. Yeah, I noticed in the book that a lot of true and back, she talked to herself, because when she was running, like you keep on focus and breathe, at the same time you can start thinking about your life. And she keep on putting herself back into the situation, feel guilty, and again said, what if I could have done to help him out? What if I could have done to save him? The guilty she had felt for all the time, like when she was running. That's you can tell she was really in deep trauma and in pain all the time.
Yeah. But in deep trauma, but also hurt, right? Hurt. There's and by his depression, there's a piece here. I just subtitled it "Hugging and Kissing." When I used to come home, the first thing you did was give me a hug and a kiss, as though I'd returned from a trip, when I was usually just coming back from the opera at the Elbe Philharmonic. But you always made sure we said proper goodbyes and hellos. I don't remember at all what the last morning was like. I don't remember what your last words to me were. You brought me a coffee and bed and headed to your workshop. I'm sure you said a proper goodbye and gave me a kiss and wished me a good day. I don't remember that anything special happened or anything felt different. I used to think sometimes it was a bit exaggerated to insist on goodbye and hello the way you did, but actually it was great. I don't remember exactly what was going on that morning, but I know for sure you said goodbye. That must have been what happened, but what does it matter? I still haven't got used to the idea that no one will touch me now, no one will kiss me before I leave the house or before he leaves the house. I read somewhere that people who leave the house with a kiss cause significantly fewer car accidents. A fantastic bit of research. But what are you meant to do with such information? Some people might think, great, nothing much can happen to me. I'm leaving the house with a kiss. And then they race away because nothing will happen to them, while others ring the neighbors' doorbells until they find someone who will give them a kiss before they leave. That's how it must be. a staircase kissing market for the lonely, all for the purpose of traffic safety. Yeah. Yeah. But it's very much about physical contact, right? That she has now lost.
Missing.
Yeah, that she's lost, but that has been diminishing. And if you read on a little bit, 2 pages more, and you realize that in such an illness, his illness, he's so focused on himself that there's no outreach to the partner, no, or little, diminishing at least, decreasing, which is painful and hurtful, and then brings on the contact with someone else that is fleeting. But yeah, I thought about that, the kissing staircase or something. Yeah, so that we don't have car accidents. Yeah, and that's what I meant here, the question of sex. Where is it? Here, yeah. Oh yeah, because she writes about the fact that she considers herself a widow. It's one thing. About the fact that she will never have a child because she's 42 years old and passed and never happened and so on. I don't know where. Oh yeah, here. Yeah. Do I really want that? That's not what I want. I want you back beside me, damn it. And not for the sex. That was already a thing of the past. It was awful how you weren't at all interested anymore. We argued about it, but Frau Moll tells me now that's part of the sickness. I didn't know that at the time. I just felt rejected and I felt hurt. And all you said was, I'm sorry, I don't know, nothing else. You didn't even try to explain, and that made me furious. I needed more. I wanted to know what was going on, and that's how all our couple conversations went. You never said anything, not a word. I kept explaining what was bothering me, or what I wanted, or what I didn't like, and you said nothing. No wishes, no explanations, just your head bowed, and the constant, I don't know, or yes, you're right, or I'm sorry. That's no way to have a relationship or a conversation. You have to have a real discussion sometimes. And maybe you really didn't know, but that's something I couldn't understand. I had the feeling you didn't want to know. Once I thought you were having an affair, and I decided not to confront you and just wait until it was over and you were ready to talk about it, but you didn't have one. It wasn't your style. It was more my style. Then everything got complicated. And now I wish you were here and lying beside me at night. How could you do what you did? And I thought that was really interesting. The fact that the illness causes total disinterest, is very egocentric. Who said something about egotistical? Yeah. When you're depressed, it seems, I don't know, I haven't suffered in that direction ever yet. It seems that you only think about yourself. Here, anyways, that you can only deal with yourself, everybody else is, and there's no conversation, there's no contact, there's certainly no or hardly any physical contact, and the other person feels shut out and therefore vulnerable to other activities.
Because he's sick, he might lose the capacity to deal with relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, just like this, because he probably doesn't even have enough energy to take care of himself.
No.
Not to mention to reach out to explain what's going on with him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was surprised, in a way. I know this is kind of a Western, like a doctor and a patient relationship, right? Because it seems to me like they share the same psychologist. Like, I don't know, like
Frau Moll?
Frau Moll, yeah.
Frau Moll is the therapist.
Yes,
and he had a doctor. He had
a doctor.
A separate doctor.
But I was wondering, like, how come the doctor didn't reach out to the family? This could have been prevented. I'm not very sure, you know what I mean? Like, I would have, like, I know maybe that's a license thing, like a doctor and a patient, but this is different, right? This is a life and death.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they have like the counsel and customer privilege like lawyers, right? But then this is maybe they have this.
I don't know. I don't know
Privacy.
what the situation is, whether the doctor can just reach out to
To the family.
and say, here, we have a,
Because they're not married, even
Yeah.
if they're married, you still have
That's-
privacy issues.
that's
right?
the other.
Yeah, that's
I've heard
another.
even in high, university students depressed, they won't inform the parents or anyone. So that's hard to keep to themselves.
Even high school students.
Yeah, now here. Okay, wow, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need a bigger network, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you are sick, because you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not physical sickness; it's a mental sickness.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's a confidentiality, right? Like if someone like teenager want to change their gender, the psychologist cannot inform just the parents. Like they have the freedom to
Yep.
discuss whatever with
As
the
of 16,
doctor.
I think, from 16 up, you're considered an adult in that
Yeah,
area.
yeah. But unless the thoughts and the intent might damage the public safety, I guess maybe at that only that moment the doctor have an obligation to report to police. But if it's only like even you want to self harm, like you're not harming the greater public, like it's confidentiality. You have to abide the professional ethics, like not disclose to anyone.
It's funny, or it's not funny, but one of my daughters had a job for a time at Carleton University where a big amount of money had come in to help provide services and so on for students with disabilities. And she was involved in providing some of those services. And it turned out that less than 10% of the students had physical disabilities, wheelchair or hearing or seeing problems. Over 90% were mental disabilities, mental illnesses, anxiety, those kinds of things. Yeah. So exactly what she's describing here, or the effects of which she's describing here. Yeah. And what I translated in another book, 3 books back, where someone describes his encounter and his living with bipolar syndrome, and how bipolar syndrome kicks in when you're, for most people, at the cusp of becoming an adult. So in your late teenage years, when you're not forced by your teacher to run every day, when you're stressed out by exams. The teacher, she had a good solution. Yeah. Or he. Yeah. And that, and that at university at least, those where it was 90% or slightly more than 90% mental disabilities. Really interesting. So, what else? Baby. I have one other topic here called baby. Because she focuses on this, as she's running, she thinks, obviously, and she sees what's going on, and she makes up these crazy stories about people. The one man that she wonders whether he was in Russian prisoner of war camp. And then she says, oh, forget about that, yeah. And then she meets a young couple. He is very athletic and runs well. She is a little chubby and is pushing a baby in a carriage. And I don't know, I can't remember exactly whether that's the same couple later on where she stinks of perfume. And the runner here, our narrator, gets all angry that a mother should make herself so smelly with perfume, and how is the child ever really going to smell its mother if the mother is doused in perfume? all kinds of irritations that come up in this person's running. But here is the irritation of the baby. Here, breathing in, breathing out, a baby. A baby wouldn't have changed anything. Babies don't keep you alive if you don't want to live, but the thought doesn't go away. What would have happened if then I'd at least have a baby now What a load of nonsense. All alone with a baby isn't good either, especially with my weird working hours, and the poor baby would have to deal with all that excess love meant for you. But maybe you wouldn't have done what you did. A sick father is definitely not good for a child, but maybe a child would have been good for you. Maybe you would have made it if we'd had a baby. Who knows? Maybe you would have pulled yourself together. That's what I like, that she sees the depression also as something he's allowing. Pull yourself together. If you would have pulled yourself together, maybe you would have gone to see the doctor. Maybe you would have had enough energy to look for a therapist or have someone find you one. Maybe I would have worked less and noticed that you were doing poorly again instead of focusing on my rehearsals and concerts. Maybe you weren't doing worse, really. I don't even know that for sure. Did the illness come back, or was it because of the deal you made with your therapist, and so on and so forth? So this confusion all the time, right? Would a baby have been good? Here I am now, 42 years old, I'll never have one. Would it be good for me, 42 years old, to have one that's 3 years old, that takes all my attention and all the love that I would have for you if you had also committed suicide? I think that, what I liked particularly about this book is that nothing is absolute, nothing is absolutely clear. There's a constant back and forth, and I think if we think about how often our own decision-making processes and thoughts go, how we also have to swivel, or do swivel back and forth until finally a decision comes to fruition. So that's what I have to say. I'm perfectly happy to answer questions or have comments or...
Want to go over those 3 questions?
Sure. Which I printed them out too.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. So, we have 4 questions from Professor. So maybe we will have a big group discussion. Question number 1. Are you going to follow?
Go ahead.
What are the main themes of this book? What the efforts of a partner's depression or of a partner's suicide? Finding a solution to personal trauma? What is class struggle in a couple?
Or just the difficulties of being in a relationship? Family, lost opportunities, new opportunities. Towards the end, there are all kinds of new opportunities, right? That when she meets the man that she meets when they're jogging, and then she finally buys a red dress and feels it's time to be able to wear a red dress again. She participates in the long run around the Alster Lakes in Hamburg and so on. So there are new opportunities and
move on with her life.
I'll give it a try. This is how I feel. I feel like the whole book, is themed on this like just the plain difficulty of being in a relationship. More like her relationship with this late whatever spouse or husband, they are not married, right? And also her relationship with his in-laws, lack of relationship, like it's a difficulty in a relationship, right? And the relationship is a neutral word, it can be good or bad, right? So, and also between her late husband and also his parents, right? That's there. And also her she described a lot with her shrink, what's the word? Her therapist, right? And also she would also imagine like in a newer relationship, her relationship with her ex, like her colleague who had an affair, right? And also her relationship probably with, I think there's also another close friend with the younger kids, right?
Kati.
So you have a little bit dynamic there as well. And later in another jogger, with another jogger, right? It's kind of like bringing this new hope of turn of her like life chapter, right? And so I would say, to me, it's all about like relationships, ups and downs, like closer, far away, rejection, acceptance, right? And acceptance, right? Or reject. Sometimes she feels accepted, sometimes she feels rejected, right? And yeah, that's how I feel. I don't know about you guys.
I think it's hard. Both of it is a topic, it seems. But for me, like, it's really about love. I feel like in the end, she explored all the things, all the other possibilities. But in the end, he's still with me in her heart. So I do feel that, she can't move on because of the love so deep. That's why like she's so still believing, even though it's getting better, getting lighter. At this stage, she couldn't move on. There's the other guy, he's pretty handsome, pretty ideal, like better probably if you think of others.
But he's not that available, right? He's
yeah, because maybe both of them.
I would be scared of her. She's too intense.
Yeah, she's still in deep love. I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, and I was hoping actually she move on with another guy, like more matching to her status, but she's still hanging with the love.
One of my friends, I got a friend who's an intense reader of books to reread my translation before it was published. Just because you always need someone to reread so that there are mistakes that you don't see or repetitions that you don't see and you're tired of it after a while. And she stopped reading at, I can't remember, but where the sex scenes with this other guy started. She didn't want to read it. So if I had been that woman's partner, I would have committed suicide too. Because she's very focused on herself all the time, right? And yeah, you wonder. I mean, at first you feel sorry for her. She's had this traumatic thing, and she's working to get out of it and struggling, and her foot hurts and her arm hurts and whatever, all kinds of things hurt. But she's also totally focused on herself. And so Nancy said, I would have committed suicide.
I think it's not like, you didn't mention any, like in the whole book, there's nothing, you didn't talk about love, but I just feel that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Because, the sex is not, like she's missing that contact, body contact. But deep down, many things came out, like, she doesn't mind.
But she's also willing to kiss anybody in the stairway.
Right,
in the stairway.
So just that's only the physical part. But really, why she's so sad? Like, because of love. That's how they say, grief is the price we pay for the love we lost. So that's why I think this makes sense in the end. You're still with me.
I don't think of.
Maybe the German culture. My question is like, German is more like Chinese. I think we don't like. It's not like, the Latin American people. They really kiss. They have this love, expressive love all the time, right?
And then.
But they're very like a kind of, we keep the distance. We care. We are really very reserved. But deep down, keep to yourself the love. The bonding is there, even though
I don't know about German and Chinese, but certainly the German, whether there are parallels, but certainly in the German system, it takes a long time to get close to someone. It takes a lot of investment.
And our generation.
You don't make friends easily. It's not all casual and.
You don't say I love you not like here like all the time, right? The couples they like to hold hands and hugging all the time. We're trying to do that and learn that's the important part of the love. But the caring, the love, that is the way. That's how
Is it possible her point of like talking is not from love, it's from she failed like in her personal life.
Yes.
Like she mourned for her own failure. Like why I'm so capable, why I couldn't stop her suicide. Like I failed my relationship, I failed to have children, I feel like she's mourning her grief for her life instead of you could be such a wonderful man. Your parents can have some sympathy for the parents, and she sounds like she lack of sympathy for that, and she only like grief and blame herself why I failed to do this, that.
That's also, yeah, you're right. But I think if she doesn't care about him, none of this would be a problem. If she didn't care, like just a casual encounter, boyfriend.
Maybe that's what happens when you live with someone who is depressed. You stop caring.
She realized, she thought he didn't care. She realized he's
Just give up. You're not the psychologist of your partner.
Yeah, it's out of your control, right? So just
it's like her feeling, like then she realized, okay, this is her his disease, right? Caused that. But from her side, she still care about him, although she wished that she didn't have that bitterness when she loved him. If she realized he was sick, then she could have supported him better. If she didn't care so much, if she didn't love the dog, now this be problem, who cares? He died, there's no love, just past,
It's funny, she has that one good friend, Kati, right? The one good friend. Even the quartet that she plays with, sometimes they're just she has to get away from them. It's too much. Even if they go off on a weekend together and so on, and it just is too much. She has difficulty with relationships. It seemed to me.
I think she's a victim. It's not.
She needs what?
She's
She's a victim. She thinks the author is a victim.
A victim.
Yeah, the caddy. No, not the caddy. The person.
The runner.
Runner. Yeah.
She's a victim.
Yeah, she's
Of
a victim.
herself.
No,
Yes.
of him committing
Yeah, that's
suicide.
why did you then?
Yeah.
Why did you kill yourself?
Right? And I think he was in therapy twice.
Mhm.
And the second time around, she thought he's getting better. Because I think it's because he already made up his mind that he's going to kill himself. So that's why he was relaxed, and that's when she thought he's getting better. So it was a huge shock for her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. She
but then-
didn't realize it was going so far. It was going so.
Exactly. And then.
But why didn't she realize? She asked herself. Yeah.
And I think she rejected. Yeah, and then she felt so guilty. Actually, and then the other topics, I think the title is really good. It's running. Running, it is not for jogging. It's running away from.
That's right.
What she's getting into. The depression.
Yeah, it can be running away. It can be running towards. It can be running with. It can,
Absolutely.
it can
Great
be.
title.
Yeah. Maybe there should have been running ... I don't know that you see titles like that in English too often.
Well, statistically speaking, man has a much higher suicide rate than
Really?
Yeah.
it
Oh,
is.
I'm
Like a
scared.
Much more, like how much?
Higher.
You know,
How much higher?
from my work, right? Like a lot of first responders, we have like the employees. The HR always put suicide prevention training for all the employees. So they talk about why men has much higher, especially for first responders, because they see lots of very bloody things that normal people will not ever encounter, and they have a huge, severe impact for the mental health and family dynamic, and so lots of men, like it's very shocking. Like before I moved to this company, and I noticed we receive, like all the employees receive at the same time, death notification all the time.
Really?
Yes. So, but they don't specifically say the suicide unless they've been shot by criminals, right? They will say they died in duty, on duty.
Which?
Public safety. So it's a lots of lots of personal
Not safe there.
responsibility.
Not safe there.
So it's very shocking. Like I thought, is this better for employees' mental health or worse? Right? Like, but you have to honor them. You know, if they.
You mean that the colleague died, or
Yeah,
you went
colleague.
to help? Really? Oh.
Like even we don't know them, right? So they spread to like maybe 5,000, 8,000 people at the same time. Say this employee pass away, and it will have a profound impact mentally for the people who work close with this person, individual. Or if you're wishing to sign a book for the family or participate in the funeral, like you're welcome. Like
How frequent you mean? You said it.
it's like
every month.
every month or every 2 months.
Wow.
Some of them are not die from duty, like maybe the battle for cancer for years, or some sudden death during vacation, even like some just wonder.
Just wonder how big is the email list? If it's like thousands.
To the other employee.
I know, so that's
Yeah.
not a.
That's I think that's rare for other
Yeah,
departments.
because we don't circulate this kind of
For
email.
public safety, they just they honor them. Like
For
if
safety.
it's an officer,
Like 2,000 people or 1,000 people?
well, at least 5,000 or 8,000, like
So we
yeah.
have 7,000.
If it's an
we never-
officer with uniform, right, and they have like a uniform requirement if you go to the funeral, like what kind of dress code you need to have. So we receive all those death notification all the time, like it's.
But when you receive a death notice, does it say how that person died? Suicide, cancer?
Sometimes they mention it's a battle with cancer, sometimes just a sudden death. Then you don't know it's a suicide or it's a
Hit on the street.
just whatever, yes, car accident.
Well,
But
stress.
then
Not a good way.
Well, stress is
Yeah.
definitely a factor for them. I'm
At
gonna
least-
use a book. Stress, the type of job sounds like it's very stressful and sad, right? So it is a factor contributing factor to the depression
yes.
and also to cancer risk.
At least once a year, there's a suicide prevention training, like open to all the employees. And then they will just educate you if your friend or family, like how you approach them, like in a proper way, right? Like you know, and then you notice some symptom or some habit change, sudden change from there, and then you need to show care,
Support,
subtly to how to support them. So
Yeah, high school is very also a risk. University also a risk place, and there's certain situations that is stressful. Yeah.
Mothers with small children, less of a risk, because they've got to keep busy with the small children.
Yeah.
Right, they've got a reason to live.
The healthcare workers, remember that doctor committed suicide, during COVID, New York, chief physician, and she committed suicide.
this is a dentist has the highest
It's the-
suicide
Oh,
rate.
yeah, that's
I
maybe
think it's
too
a
boring.
truth or myth.
That's
Maybe
the
myth.
job is too boring. Maybe. Just
That's very interesting discussion. Okay, so should we move to the next, no, I guess we're gonna move to the next question, question number 2. How effective is the stream of consciousness approach for this narrative? Does it work? How does the observations about other random people affect the reading, understanding process?
The time she spends on that old man who's barefoot, and why? And then the mother with the too heavy perfume. What did you think of that?
I feel she's very judgmental,
She's what?
Judgmental.
So it's really funny because if I see a buried man running on the street, my first reaction will be simply see what happened with this person, does he and how. The same thing as a mom was an accident and perfume just put on her. But I think that's what you described earlier, like she doesn't really have a very good capacity of building relationship.
Mm-hmm.
As a female, the reason we have lower suicide rate is because we always like hang out in groups. We gossip about things, we complain about things, like because we have very close relationship with other females or whatever family members. That's the time we get it out.
You're venting,
For
yes,
her,
you're venting.
yeah, and I don't have any doubt she really loved her
Spouse.
past
The boyfriend, ex-
boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah.
But I really have a doubt whether she had the capacity of loving him, or at least loving him the way he needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where all her reflection is coming from. But I didn't feel she's at the meaning that yet. But she's getting there, because the reflection is bring her a lot of things she didn't even notice when he was with her.
That's interesting. The idea that she's so judgmental, and if she's so judgmental about the mother who's wearing thick perfume and the man who's running around barefoot, and then there's also early on there's somebody on a park bench who says something to her, and she thinks about how nice it must be, or how that person ended up on the park bench. Was it alcohol and drugs, or was it drugs and alcohol? This kind of thing. Yeah, which may well be an indication that she just couldn't provide the love.
Yeah, I think
Or the,
yeah,
I don't know, it's,
yeah, somehow I feel like it's funny. I like how she wrote out. I feel my angle is like I feel she's so honest. So
I thought so too. I thought in a way when you're writing, the writer has to animate the narrative somehow.
Be true to yourself. Like
Well, that too, but if you think of it, the technical aspects of the writer who's sitting there, can she just go on and on and on about this trauma, or does she have to build in a little bit of description about what's going on here and what's going on there? And she does it quite well, I think.
Everything she wrote about this, I feel is funny.
These different scenes that she adds.
Yeah, then it's like a picking photo, right?
Yeah.
You see what's going on. If you think everything is normal, then you won't describe it, right? There's nothing special about it. But because of her observation so sharp, you get to know.
And early on too, in the park, she's running and everybody's having a picnic, and there's a couple of younger people snogging on the bench and so on and so forth, and she observes all of that, but it doesn't promote the narrative at all. It's just a description of what she sees, but also for us readers, something that the author has included.
I think it's okay to have that even not very nice thinking, nice thoughts. Otherwise, as long as you're not act on it, I think it's. I had some experience with like dealing with that. Like my son had a little bit issues, have bad thoughts, and he scared himself actually. He went to see a psychologist, and then he was told, and I learned also, the repetitive thinking. As long as even the bad thought, as long as you're not act on it, it's okay. Actually the book I'm reading, they said the majority of people have them really bad thoughts. As long as you're not, maybe during the sadness, during the stress period, if you are not act on it, it's okay. You should allow that. Allowing the thought, that's a process of healing process. Get it out.
If it's for a young mother with a healthy child, she will see everything like rosy, full of hope, full of positive vibe, right? But when someone is depressed, going through grief, like she see everything negative, right? And she is hypersensitive to everything can irritate her inside.
If like a Chinese way of say, don't contain your grief, don't grieve. That's not the right approach. Like how when someone passed away, usually say, 节哀顺变. That's not the right approach. Like according to current psychology, you have to allow yourself to breathe, to whatever sadness, whatever negative thought.
What is this, the conventional or
Well,
Chinese
the
notion? Pull yourself
translation-
together.
Like restrict.
The
Sounds
standard-
very German.
Standard Chinese way. But, if someone passes away, they just say, no, don't breathe, just contain, move on. Like
it's
move
not-
on, like have the strength to, to act, to do good things, to remember your loved one. I'm just in this space because I'm still grieving for the passing of my dad. Like he passed suddenly like 2 months ago. So and I've been trying to cope.
我节哀 不是 it's not means you should not.
Yeah,
breathe.
let me
It
translate by ChatGPT.
limited.
Okay. Please accept my condolences. I hope you can find comfort and adapt to the changes.
Yeah.
节哀顺变。
Yeah. So it's
节
是节约节制的意思。
Yes.
Restricted. Like
It's
it's
very
not.
comfortable.
Yeah, in other words,
Move on.
Like it's not go to extreme. Like you want
That's an
hardness.
English translation. Not really. I think it's to me it's not. I know both language, so I don't think that's the accurate translation of the original Chinese. Because Chinese people don't like to talk about the loss. Actually, that's my observation.
I have two Chinese PhD students, and both of them work on the issues of translating English into Chinese, but they also have to deal with explaining to the English language public and the university people and the examiners of their PhD thesis what that Chinese text means. And they all say how vague Chinese is and how many different ways you can translate one line. And that it's completely dependent on who's reading, who's using the text, whereas in English, is it different? I don't know. But that's a constant thing, that Chinese is vague or open-ended somehow.
One person I think I didn't mark, but the one person she didn't like is the executive club reason. She was told like kind of move on, like she wasn't allowed to express her feelings and sadness, right? Kind of with her good friend Katie is that she's there, she's not judging her, she's allowing her to be sad, to do whatever.
I think she's doing that is just to distract herself from the pain. Like she's related to the people, she observed other people around when she was jogging, right? She's not just distraction. Because she was so absorbed, like so got into her own feelings of sorrow, guilty, pain, all these negative feelings. She need to get something distracted from that.
That's
negative
fine.
emotional
I
flow.
think that's very sincere. I feel it's sincere. People should, it's normal. When you lost someone so close, you feel that.
But she says every now and then, quick, think of something else, right? When she gets really stuck in thinking, but was I to blame? Is it my fault? And so I said, quick, think of something else. And then she sees the mother with the perfume or smells the mother with the perfume.
The way is getting out of the kind of shit.
By the way, the name for Kathi, the friend, in German is Rike, R-I-K-E. And it's a short form of Ulrike. My first name is Ulrike Louise von Floto. No English person could pronounce Ulrike. So it's gone. It's not on my passport even anymore. But that word Rike, I left it in the text at first. But when you see it in English, it says Reich. Rhymes with bike and spike, like. And we had a long discussion. What should it be in English? Can we just change the name? Should we just change the name? And so we ended up with Kathi. But it was, it's something that translators have to think about, right? Can I leave the name? Or is it going to be totally distracting and destructive, in fact, to have someone called Reich?
But why did you pick Kathi?
Kati, because it's Katarina,
Okay.
because it's Kathy, because it's, What else could it have been? It could have been, and it's vaguely, it could be German, Kati, yeah.
It's more like in Western world, more
Yeah.
noble,
Noble.
female,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah, maybe.
Queen Katerina from the.
Katarina, exactly, exactly.
When you changed the name, did you have to ask the original author?
Yes, I asked her.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I told her, if we use Rike, Reich, in English, it's going to be very distracting for readers to try and figure out what that
You
is.
don't even know it's a female or male.
No, you wouldn't know. Yeah, well, you'd figure it out soon enough, but yeah. So, but yeah, the author was involved here and there. She was in the process of writing her next book, which just came out about 4 or 5 months ago. So she wasn't that involved, but she answered. Yeah.
But the third is Frau, is it Mr. Frau?
Frau,
Frau,
yeah, it's a
German.
lady. It's a lady.
Frau
Frau
is
a lady.
yeah.
So,
Ms. It can be either
okay.
a married woman or just an adult female, Frau, and it's the word that's always used for
So the
For women.
name is actually just Mole.
which way? Mole.
The Mole is the
Mole.
name.
Have you read her second book?
The most recent one I haven't read,
Oh,
but
you
the other
haven't?
one I did, the Peacock, which is an interesting book. It's worth having a look at, and it has been translated into English by Katie Derbyshire, who lives in Berlin. It tells the story of a group of German banking people who go off to Scotland to have a week together to learn team building type of thing, and they're at various levels in the bank, and they end up in this terrible Scottish place which is not heated very well, which has, the wind comes in the windows, suddenly there's a snowstorm, and there are peacocks running around outside, and the peacocks are aggressive, and then all kinds of strange things happen in this strange Scottish hotel bed and breakfast place. And it's interesting, but it tells the story completely differently. You have the omniscient narrator who knows exactly what all the bankers are, and there's also struggling between the bankers. One guy wants to be the manager, and the other guy wants to be the super boss, and it has to do with investments and hiding information about this investment or that one, and yeah. So it's complex, but very, very different from this, so different from this. And I asked Katie Derbyshire, I met her in Berlin, and I said, why did you choose that one to translate rather than this one to translate? And she said, well, it would work better in English. So when would it? I don't know. So when there's an omniscient narrator, and it's light, it's not heavy like this thing is, right? So it's kind of a story about a vacation or a week of team building gone kind of wrong.
More entertaining.
Yeah, it's more entertaining, and the film is entertaining. So next time you're on Air Canada, there it is, the Peacock. Yeah. Yeah. So what else have we got here? Oh yeah. Well, number 3 is easy, right? What role does running, or should I have translated that as jogging, play in the different stages of the narrator's recovery? How credible is the depiction of physical exercise as a healing element? Yeah. Is physical exercise a healing element?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, from my perspective, I think running is a perfect title for the book. So, starting with jogging first. Jogging means you're running slowly at a certain pace.
Mm-hmm.
It's more physical. It doesn't have. You're never talking about jogging mind. You're talking about running mind all the time. I feel a lot of times that only mentally she's engaged, but her mind is actually running as well.
As well.
Yes.
Racing.
Yeah, racing,
Racing
exactly.
thoughts.
Racing thoughts. So I thought that suicide is a very hard event in life to observe or even to, digest if it happened to someone you know. Like for me, about 10 years ago, our department is very small. We had a very young IT person, very good looking, and always smile all the time. And suddenly we got an email. He just, decided to take his life at home in his late 20s. Then we had the entire platform about how to reach out. So one thing I learned really funny from this annual kind of information session happens all the time is just checking with people, asking, how are you doing today? When people are too busy, sometimes they don't even think. They just reason, okay, that person needs to slow down, and then you can kind of pause them from their regular routine, say, go for a coffee, go for a walk, because that's the time they are too busy even to listen to themselves anymore. So these cues are something we can do in our daily life. Not necessarily can save someone from suiciding, but will definitely change their mind of making that decision. A lot of times, because they take on so many responsibilities, or they feel themselves are meaningless to other people. That's usually the main causes to take their life, because they feel like I'm become a burden of people I love.
Nobody cares.
I just cannot take on all this responsibility. I cannot serve people anymore. So the people usually with a great heart are the one end up being the victim of suicide. But the little gestures in life to show you still pay attention to them really can save them from going down that route. So I really love the title of
Yeah. I think physical exercise too is just takes you away from, like she says, my foot hurts. You focus on your knee that's sore, or on your foot, or I have a friend whose husband every now and then he's kind of gray first thing in the morning or in the middle of the afternoon, and she knows one look, oh, we're going for a walk and out into the woods. No arguments. Yeah, because it's just
I'm not sure it's the right approach or not. I think the modern world, we just so much away from religions. We treat religions as a waste, as a past life thing. It's a cliche.
religion.
Yeah. That's why we abandoned God. I'm not religious, okay? Personally, I'm not religious.
In 1892 or something like that.
Yeah. I think because the Western culture is so much deep rooted in Christianity, and Arabic, of course, the Quran or Islamic. So in that sense, people can have a father there in the heaven. Okay, real or not doesn't matter. People were told so. So we have something you can talk to, something. At least in the Bible say, God loves you. Okay, but right now we abandoned.
Oh, there's a church in Aylmer.
I know there was
When you
still a church.
drive there, which says God loves you.
Yes,
On the side of the
God loves all. God loves all everyone. But right now we abandoned everyone. We abandoned God. So right now, all of a sudden, we don't know where we should talk to, what we should rely on, and we don't have a very strong background of support, mental support.
Spiritual support.
Yeah, yes. And the way, it's a modern life of the biggest loss of our life support. So this is one of the reasons some people say, "Oh, I love money." That's another god of modern world, okay? But money can loves you back so little, right?
And it just causes trouble.
But the problem is that money is not shared to everyone as previously God does, right? So it's a big problem. It's a very, very serious problem. Right now, I think they're always moving towards the next level of fantasy, of technological fantasy. We have artificial intelligence, but I never solved the problem of the home of our spirit. Where are we going? Where we should talk to?
Are you trying to say religion is the only solution? Or?
That's what I'm saying. Religion is once the most reliable way of people's belief. You know, but right now we don't know. We didn't find such things there.
God
We
will
need to
never
rebuild.
abandon you unless you abandon God.
And also religious is not everybody can take it.
The thing is that
It's
even
a system that's invented by
the interesting thing is that in Chinese culture we don't have God. We only have emperor.
Oh, you have Buddha, you have.
We have Buddha, we have
That's never you realize. That's a very minority, not even like 30 or 40% of population. Common mass. Common mass. We know everyone knows emperor. You know that's the authoritarian society, right? The god is made the form of emperor. The emperor in the face of father to look after everyone. So, but right now, you know, there's no authorities anymore. People lost the the constraints of religious, also lost the support of the spiritual life.
So you're stuck all by yourself.
Exactly,
All
but
alone.
it's the society right now. We don't know where to go to.
That's why running fast. When you run by yourself.
Yes.
It's lonely.
You're lonely, and
Yeah.
you're so self-disciplined, right? You see so many CEOs. How many CEOs love running? Think about that.
Yeah.
Like all the brand name, high-tech company, almost.
Also
Everyone.
Indians, right?
Not Indians, but a lot of people love like what Elon.
Elon Musk.
Facebook CEO. What he loves running. And
Zuckerberg.
also Apple's.
Yeah.
And who else?
All the high stress for people.
Yeah.
Chinese stress people.
Yeah, they treat
They
it as
pretend to
a.
be the.
I think this is a healing, right? So otherwise, why would people love? Like my boss, he loves running.
But they could
Like
just-
like I do find a lot of people love running,
The
and
best
they
way-
do have. I think they physically they make you feel fit, and it does introduce. You have to be very self-disciplined.
And you're
very
out
focused.
in nature and you're breathing clean air
Yeah.
and you're,
And
if
then
you're not running, you're doing cross-country skiing.
It's the
in the
only
hills.
problem right now. The two sides. One is science, one is religion.
Yeah.
Right now, science win.
Yeah.
But science didn't give us the comfort of our spirit. Science cannot replace religion. Some way, sooner.
Heard from a Harvard professor. He says the new religion is like people like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They are the IT prophets.
Yeah.
Because they promise everyone we're going to live in a
Mars.
perfect world of abundance. That's a new religion. Like because you stay like 10 hours on the phone every day, worship it, right? You cannot live without it, and you like they are the new gods, like all those high tech.
Control minds.
Control your mind, and they use algorithm to push the information they want you to see. Or
Just like opium.
But that's very, any question of religion is very distant from this book as well. There's just the petty bourgeois funeral that with those dreadful hymns and things.
But remember, Germany is one of the most religious country, as I understand. Maybe I'm not
In the
right.
past, I think in
Yeah.
Europe, getting away from
It's,
religion.
there are still
But not
big
new generations.
Catholic sections.
It
of
used to
Germany.
be.
Yeah.
Used to be.
Oh, still.
And, but not right now. Not new generations. I
Well,
mean, the
I lived in
believers.
Germany for a few years and in the early 90s, and I moved with my 4 children to Germany, and they had to go to school in Germany suddenly. And they were asked early on, as soon as they were in class, they said, are you Protestant or are you Catholic? The other kids would ask them, are you Protestant or are you Catholic? We'd never considered those questions in Canada. But in Germany, in southern Germany, which is very Catholic, that was actually a question that children would ask each other 30 years ago. I don't know whether things have changed, but it was pretty striking. But it was also connected with politics because Catholics go with conservative, Protestants go with SPD, with the more liberals.
And right now, even worse, it because Trump. This, it's the big brother.
Don't go there.
Don't go
Big
there.
brother.
Don't give him the time of day. Don't mention even by
Big brother
mentioning his name.
lost the leadership. So we don't have leaders in the whole world.
We don't
But
have.
we should have, the world should have a leader. Or
Leader?
brother, yeah.
Oh my God.
The whole world. You should have a leader. I'm not saying the ruler. I'm not saying ruler, okay? I say it is a leader. Yeah, it's a spiritual leader or something like that. Not a ruler, okay? Yeah. But right now it's a mess, right? There's no order, so people get more depressed.
When was there ever order?
Yeah. We lost order.
We lost it?
There's
It
no
exists?
order right now. It's very chaotic right
We're
now.
US, we're fine. Canada.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
very interesting discussion. I love that. Yeah, definitely opened my mind. I never thought the religious was somehow related to this so far. Should we move to the next?
Yeah, the last one. What was the last one? Loneliness and
The
family.
loneliness.
Mm.
The loneliness and our family.
Yeah, the choice, right? You can choose to be alone, you can choose to surround yourself with family, basically, yeah. How does she operate? How does she navigate those options? Because she didn't want to get married. She didn't want to have children. She kept putting it off, right? Yeah. She's 40 now, she will never have children herself. She cannot stand her partner's family. She hardly has any family herself. At one point, there's a brother that shows up towards the end of the book that she vaguely has a relationship with. She's alone. Is she alone? Is that a good thing? Are her solutions to this kind of solitude credible? So I guess my first question is she alone?
For sure. So actually, the name of the book reminded me of a poem I wrote a couple months ago. This poem, the name of is The Whale on the Roof. So you know, when I feel I like writing, so I have a deep understanding of this writer. So I think this good writer, they insulate themselves for the outside. If they not good at build a relationship with other people, they must good at build a relationship with another yourself. This is in your heart, in your mind. So this reminded me of my poem I read myself because I like writing. Since I'm in high school, even my major is the mechanic. I'm a mechanical engineer. So my background, but I like writing. I like artists. So this poem name is The Whale on the Roof. Because when I read this
The whale,
poem,
I'm hearing the
whale. The ocean.
The whale.
Giant
A whale.
fish. Yeah, whale.
Huge on the roof.
Whale on the roof.
All
So
right.
that's because whale on the roof. So I still remember when I read this poem because you know in the weekend, so my kids with me, but they went to another city for the music festival. So I'm alone in the home. So this is a very quiet morning. So you know the quiet, like the fog frozen on my window. So I try to wake them up because it's so quiet. I only did the generator of the freezer and the pump sound of the fish tank. Only this sound so quiet. I want to wake them out of my feeling, just like I wake the fog frozen on the window. This I write this poem because you know when you feel so long, you confuse yourself. You can't figure out which one is real life, which one is your imagination. So this is make I just talking to the well. So why you stayed on my roof? Go back to the ocean, swimming. But this is not right. This is my imagination. This I never myself stayed on the roof. So I try to running out of my situation. Just like I understand the writer. So he eager to go outside, knock it down of the neighbor. He tried to, no matter like a conversation or the physical touch, he want broken this. He don't want alone. This is the artist behavior. I think no matter what type of like literature and painting and music, all the artists have this behavior. This the very good act make themselves alone, make a relationship with themselves, and not good act to make a relation with the other people, no matter their family, even their best friend, even the family membership, even the co-workers and classmates, no matter. They know in some of situation they create when they insulate themselves. He not good at this. He good at to talk whisper like the beginning of this book, like a whisper. Like when he write, I think when he writes something, there's a like something whisper in her ear. There's another herself. So this is my feeling.
So solitude is the basis of creativity. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise you're distracted. Yeah.
See a lot of similarities.
By the fish tank, by the whale on the roof.
Yeah.
By the kids screaming. Yeah.
Just think she remind me of Virginia Woolf. Like she also had depression and she killed herself.
Yeah.
But I think you need that in the personality, creativity together. Otherwise, when you're too social, like always happy, you cannot create the arts.
No. I saw a show. It was in an art gallery in Montreal. A famous Quebec artist whose name escapes me right now. But there was a description of how he worked and how everybody stayed away from him when he was working, and he did these enormous paintings and everybody knew, keep away. He's creating, he's busy, he has no time, he will get angry, leave him alone. And it was really true.
I just read the Oliver Sacks book, like his autobiography. It's called Moon, on the Moon. He lived most of his life by himself, so a loner. But in the inside, they don't feel. I don't think he feel lonely. Like it's like a rich, but
the brain is busy.
Constantly writing.
Yeah. Although because she is constantly in touch with Cathy, and she refers to Cathy. She likes Cathy's children, but for a couple of hours, maybe one day, every now and then, right? And I don't know. I don't think that she really suffers so much being alone. It's hard to know. I don't know. Here, she doesn't like all these people around her. She doesn't like that person over there. She has an objection to that person. Is she alone, and is that a good thing? And are her solutions to this kind of solitude credible? Do you believe that her solution, which is really to stay alone, she's rented a smaller apartment, she doesn't seem to invite Cathy or the kids to her apartment. She goes, and when she does her quartet, the music with her quartet, they do it elsewhere. It's like she has a place of her own. And when she's running, she's also running by herself. I think, is it somewhere in there that she says she can't imagine speaking to someone as you're running, having a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
I see people sometimes talking to each other when they're running. I couldn't imagine.
I couldn't do that.
It was too much work.
When I started running, we run with the very senior runners who run with for decades. And they just run and chat easily, and I hardly catch my breath.
I know.
So it's a different level of running. Like when I read it, I can I can relate because I'm the kind of beginner runner. I was struggling trying to keep my pace because I was told how to breathe. There's a lot of techniques, right? My colleagues, my boss, they all love running, so they pull me to this running club and running room. And I tried. I said, no, you're not. How your feet hit the ground, how you hold the oxygen in your body, how you breathe in, breathe out, and everything as a technique. How you, oh gosh, I'm trying to focus on remember all the advice they taught me, and next to the two young ladies just running bypass me very easily and chatting about their daily lives. And I said, oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah, so I can relate.
Here, yeah, she has to be alone, I think.
Yeah, I have a
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
I really like the name, the book name. But I think the book name is not only talk one skill. It's not talk about how can run, how can do something. And my means is the book I thinking about she make this book. He just example said the running. The means is what means is look like more pressure. Everybody bad things or you talk about before there. The things is look like a running. How can keep the pressure, everything slow running out every people. I think this book talk about at this point. It's not for the only running. I'm not sure. Speak clear or not.
But every now and then she has to say, think of something else, right? Because it's so that what she's running away from
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
she's running away
So
from her.
keeps coming back, and she has to remove herself or to think of something else. Or I thought that was one of the things that's so interesting, right? That we know, well, everyone knows sort of that physical exercise of all kinds is good to heal yourself, but the healing takes enormous amounts of time and energy, and then also the trauma keeps coming back. Yeah. And I think the way that this author has managed to bring those things together, that's what I liked in the German text, which in German is called Laufen, by the way. Laufen. Running.
Laughing is the same, run.
Laufen. Yeah.
In German.
In German, yeah. Laufen. In a way, you know the English word loping? To lope along is to run with great long steps.
Oh,
It's
loping.
probably related. Yeah, laufen, loping, yeah. And it sounds Swedish to me as well. I don't know. I've got grandchildren in Sweden. Every now and then I have to go to Sweden and learn some Swedish words. They're halfway between English and German, so you get a lot of connection. But yeah, that's what I really appreciated about the book. She's no angel. Her guy was no angel either. Nobody is
Just normal people.
no, yeah, and how to negotiate that and how she deals with all that and how that is presented, I thought was really very good. Also towards the end, the boyfriend, the new guy who is not too sure, and then the running, the racing activity that she gets involved in, she doesn't really think, why did I get involved in that? And then it turns out to be quite positive, but then it's also totally exhausting, and it's just 3 more kilometers to go, and she's already done 17 or something. It's nothing is perfect.
It's not like those, like, sometimes you read certain books, it's like so fake. Like, everyone's perfect, and that's like the old Chinese literature.
It's literature teaching you a lesson of how to be, maybe. But this is also potential lesson. But nobody's perfect.
Do you feel her fear for death in the book?
Her fear.
Yeah, because some people say procrastinator always because the fear for death. It's like a night owl. They don't want to finish the day. To drag on, to delay the sleeping hour. And she dragged on to put on the exercise clothes. It's so difficult to put on, so she wants to delay everything. Some psychologists say that's because you fear for death, so you want to delay your life, like arrangement for
Really? Because of fear of death?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm no psychologist. I don't know.
I don't think so.
No.
Because she didn't understand why her boyfriend did what he did.
But when you have someone so close to you already gone, like that's death to your face, right? Like she must have the fear for death there.
I didn't really.
Fear for her own death?
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
the biggest fear for human being, right? Like if you have a family member passed away recently.
She's getting better. She's running more, and she's having more thoughts how to get away from her guilt. That's
Well, that's a sign of depression, I think. Why she died. I didn't sense any fear. As a matter of fact, I think if you have someone in the family suddenly died, actually cured this fear of death. I used to fear the fear of death. Now I go, oh, my dad, he died, I feel less fearful. I used to fear for him, like he's so old, like I always fear, oh, maybe one day he'll pass away. I have to prepare for this loss, potential loss, for a long time and many years.
But before anybody's parents die, right? You have someone protecting you in between of you and death. But when your parents are gone, you're facing death by yourself.
You're next.
There's nothing to protect you or delay you, confront the ultimate sentence. That's fearful for me.
That's part of life. That's just the cycle.
Yeah.
Like the Buddha talking about religion. Working in Buddhism, Buddha talking about life is part of death is a part of life.
Prepare for the second life. Don't worry.
Yeah, in the religious, like the heaven or the ultimate
A better life.
世界.
A better life.
Yeah, better life.
A second better
You
life.
never know.
And the love, you still have the memory and the love will be with you.
It's interesting. I just thought when you write this blurb on the back of the book, which is important because that's the first thing that people read and often makes them decide if they want to read the book or if they want to buy the book and so on. I had put something in there. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had to do with her being angry at this partner who just exits and decides to kill himself. And I sent it to the author, and she said, no. It has to do with the pain of depression, and not with the anger of the partner who's been abandoned, who's been left behind, who's been...
There's definitely anger in there.
Oh, I think so too. I think so too. But
anger is on the top level, as psychologists said.
Yeah, I think so too.
More deep, there's always more deep feelings under this anger.
But
So,
where do you think the anger comes from?
Yeah.
Is it like she feels she being abandoned?
Abandoned.
Something like that.
Abandoned.
Yeah, I think so. For me, that's what I saw, and what I liked about it, because she isn't pathetic. She's mad. She's angry that this guy has just gone and committed suicide. Of course, she also then has these moments where she's wondering whether she's to blame and what she could have done. But then she also complains about their life together and how it declined in joy and in fun and in activities they could do together. She had to reach out to whatever his name was, Michael or someone else. And
So it's because this guy gave her the most care. Right? Because this guy
being
gave
Johann.
her more than her own parents.
No,
Right?
They were together for a long time, 10 years, right?
10 years.
I think she was talking about the affair she had.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
unfair.
That's unfair.
No, they were together for 10 years. There's a lot of this bond, a strong bond.
Yeah.
About them.
Yeah. So I read it, or what I responded to and thought was interesting, is that she isn't totally, or that she also expresses anger and isn't just draped in black and huddling in a corner. She's in the process of getting out of that draped in black and huddling in a corner, and she's angry. And she's angry for all kinds of things, partially also angry at herself for not having gotten married, not having had children when he wanted, etc. But there's anger there, and not just grief, not just sadness, and then towards the end also a lift out. Yeah.
Is that because people say for a woman to find a partner, actually looking for your father figure, right? So it's like if she abandoned her, it's like her family abandoned her the second time, right?
I didn't read that. No. Where was that from?
There's no mention of her father, I
Yeah,
don't
not
think,
much.
anywhere. No.
Well, I thought her family they didn't give her enough
It's his
love.
parents.
Her own parents.
Her parents really care about her, but they
That's
don't know
right.
how to support her.
That's right, but they don't know what to do,
were
they're
very
helpless.
sad. They were actually very sad, but doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think she and her parents somehow are disconnected. Like the parents really want to support her, but she doesn't. She aware of it and she did appreciate that. But somehow she feel that support is not what she needs.
Right.
So there's some disconnection there.
It's also she's been with him. Like that's his life in the last 10 years. It's like grow up, you don't keep in touch with your parents. That's normal. So.
No. Yeah, tricky book.
I think it's very good. It's very good balance in like a real book. It's not like Romeo and Juliet. This one died, another one killed. It's not like it's most like a very.
It's very interesting. If you want, by the way, we have more copies of the book. The back is
It's anti-romantic.
So
If you guys buy the book, and Louise will be very happy to sign it, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and it's a donation for Louise too.
yeah, and by the way, we have a new member here today. Emma and her beautiful son. Actually, Emma is working for a government employee.
Yes,
And you have a side business as a life insurance agent.
Yes.
And you have two beautiful children. One is 11, grade 11. One is grade
Yeah, here.
7.
This one.
Here.
And what his name is?
Eugene.
Use yourself.
Huh? Eugene. Okay, very nice
Full
name.
name.
And
Say your full name.
Eugene, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
I
Say introduce yourself.
He's a good singer. Singing. You can sing a song for us.
Yeah, he liked sing music theater.
Oh.
Yeah, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Yushin Wang, and
Great.
I like polar bear.
So what's your favorite book?
Politics?
I heard you
Polar
heard
bear.
Polar Bear.
Yeah.
Polar bear.
Yeah, polar bear.
And your favorite book is Harry Potter.
I saw the polar bear.
And it's her wedding, right?
There was a
Thank you.
Welcome. That's our youngest. So
There was a very nice photograph recently of polar bears in an abandoned Russian housing operation, not a housing, kind of intelligence operation in the high north, an island somewhere in the Bering Sea. And the Russians are not using it anymore, and the polar bears have moved in. And there's a photograph of the polar bear looking out the window of this.
And says KGG.
Fantastic. And one polar bear kind of standing at the door or in front of the door. See if you can find it. Polar bears in abandoned Russian intelligence station. Voila. I'm sure you'll find it.
That's that type. It's an intelligent agent.
He likes beer for many years, even start from the primary school for many years. I think the first thing he likes is the bee.
the bumblebee, the bee.
Uh-huh.
And second one is the polar bear. I have two of these years. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, he just dig a lot of information from Wikipedia. So thank you for the information. I think
Yeah. In an abandoned Russian intelligence station in the high north, in Bering Sea somewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now,
That's where the polar bears are.
now it's time for us to, this is our give you gift as our show of appreciation. Thank you.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, listen up. We have a surprise for everyone, so stay, okay? Stay. We have a surprise.
Cool.
That's a silk
Very nice.
t-shirt for you.
So t-shirt for you.
On behalf,
The colors.
Yeah, natural color.
matches your eyes. That's a very precious donation from one of our members.
Really? What is it? Oh, it is. Oh,
Oh, wow.
it's magnetic.
No, it's real.
Magnetic? It's real. It's real? But real what?
Real what?
Silver.
Pearl.
Pearl.
Oh,
It's a freshwater. I know.
so that size?
I know. It's a freshwater. It's a generous donor from our member, and she wants to keep anonymous. So, but she really appreciates and she loves you. That's why.
So please tell this anonymous donor that I am
I
very
know, we felt
Wow.
embarrassed.
Great style to check this out.
Such a generous,
She won these.
such a generous donation. But we
I
just
don't
want.
I think that's
I
magnetic.
don't want to break it.
Yeah, we just, she wants you to have it, she thought you deserve it, it's such a lovely and precious gift.
Let's see how this works.
Freshwater pearls. Yeah. Okay, guys, before we take a group picture, I have a surprise to announce. Actually, I have something to say about May and June, right? So May, we invited Harper government, like Harper's Prime Minister Office director. He's actually a director, and he's also been serving for cabinet ministries, right? And he is right now a professor in Calvin University. He will be lecturing. He will be introducing us a book named "How It Works Inside Ottawa." So basically, it just shows us how the political system works and how this big machine, and gets the election, and all how the engine works. And that's for May. And then in June, we have our beloved Bai, Professor whatever, Bai. He will be here to tell us about the American history. So 美国史话. It's very fun. It's very interesting. I think the two topics are very timely. Like facing this election, right? So I think right now, if you guys want, you can ask Professor Van Sloto.
Louise.
Everybody. Louise. Yeah, you can ask Louise to sign your books. And then meanwhile, I have an announcement to make, is that Daniel has acted in one of those very classic performance, Jane Eyre. So he has graciously accepted to perform one of those acts for us. Unfortunately, his partner is not able to come. So Jen has also graciously accepted to help, to be supporting, to be a supporting role as a Jane, just to do that. Right now, to reproduce one of the scenes. And so I don't know if you guys want to sign, let Louise sign the book right away, and we'll get them ready. So basically, this will be the stage, and everyone sit behind, okay?
So this will be their stage. Let's move our chairs in the back.
After this, he will become a
Everyone
good
sit,
leader. If he can finish it.
sit like right after the
So you know
chair.
I turned it from German.
And I hope you guys will enjoy the show. We put on as a surprise for everyone.
Shakespeare, not Shakespeare. It's
Jane Eyre.
The wedding between Jane Eyre and Rochester was taking place in a church. Suddenly, a man shouted, "Stop!" This man was Mason, Rochester's brother, who shouted that Rochester was married. Yes, Rochester was a married man. His wife was living, but she was mentally ill. From the legal point of view, if this marriage continued, it would be a crime of megamy. At that moment, Rochester remained silent, didn't say a word. Then he pulled Jane Eyre's hand and rushed out of the church, jumping into a carriage, driving back to Thornfield Manor. Arriving at the manor, they ran to the top floor. The door there, that was always locked, was now wide open, and the tall woman with disheveled hair rushed towards Jane Eyre, shouting crazily. And Rochester used all his strength to control the crazy woman to the ground. Jane Eyre, shocked, ran back to her. Huh? What? Her own room and locked herself there for a long, long time until it was getting dark.
So, you come out last. You shut yourself in your room and grieve long. No one would ever reproach nothing. Is that to be a punishment? I didn't mean to want you like this. Do you believe that? I don't want to hurt you. Well, what was I to do? Confess everything? I should have lost you. I might lose my life.
You have lost me, Edward. And I have lost you.
No! Why did you say that to me? To punish me a little longer? What's true? I have myself. I can truly love. Don't take it away from me.
I must leave you.
Jen, why did you listen to me?
I will not live as your mistress.
Is that how important to you? To be Mr. Edward Rochester?
Can you really believe that's what I think?
What am I supposed to believe? You say you love me. And how can you think you leave me then?
Edward, what would I be as your mistress? A hanger-on, a dependent with no place of my own? All rights would be on your side, none on mine.
Right. You talk like a lawyer. Everything of mine is yours. What more I can give to you?
I want nothing, only you.
Jen, stay. Stay, Jen.
One day, when I come to you, Edward, I come to you as an echo. I will not be less, even for the man I love.
You mean you go one way in the world and let me go another?
Yes.
This is wicked. Who in the world would care what we do?
I care. You have a wife still living.
Wife?
Yes. However, your wife still lives, and whatever state God was fit to visit on her, she still lives. She cannot help what she is. I'm not slip past her sleepy in the night to take my place in your bed.
Fleeting back then, upon the life I lived before.
I must leave you. You need no more truth than I. You are born to strive and endure. You will forget me before I forget you.
You make a liar of me with such language. Go, then go if all that have seemed to you. Yeah. Wait. Don't decision too soon. Don't make a decision too soon. Just wait a while. Just wait a while.
Wow, how wonderful! How wonderful is that?
Wow, bravo!
Wow. So Daniel has been in rehearsal, right, with a real actor for last 6 months, 9 months,
9 months.
and that's why he was not able to come a lot of our events. But so this is finally a good ending of that. And yeah, thank you very much for your wonderful performance, and thank you, Jen, for supporting. And Jen is actually not part of it, and she just helping out today.
I'm helping out today, so I prepare 5 minutes.
rehearsal. Yeah, just a 5-minute rehearsal. So
Yeah.
I think you did put then another one.
Right? Mr. Ye is a professional. I'm just helping here.
So we'll take a group photo, and that will be the end of today. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.